Welcome to Bona Fide Dialogues with Christina Kueppers. In a world that's always racing forward, sometimes we need to slow down and reconnect.
Connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion.
That's why we bring you Bona Fide Dialogues with Christina Kueppers. Steve Napolitan is a #1 international best-selling author, award-winning marketer, and international speaker. He has made millions from his clients and has worked with companies such as Apple, Intel, Charles Schwab, and Nestle. Steve went from overworked, stressed out, beyond burnout, working 80-plus hour weeks to less than 40 hours now, and living the life he dreamed with his wife and children. Then he found himself paralyzed within a matter of days from Guillain-Barré syndrome. His recovery has brought more blessings than losses and brought more light to his more business, more life philosophy. Steve typically works with entrepreneurs and CEO founders who have found success but are not living the life they desire. He's helped his clients reach millions in additional revenue while helping them design the life they want and live it now. This may sound too good to be true, yet Steve says this is not a silver bullet, not a magic pill, nor a 6-minute ab workout. We still work. We just work smarter, not harder. You can reach him through stevenapolitan.com.
If you're facing challenges and perhaps even rebuilding your life, this episode might resonate with you. Steve and I will discuss the paradoxes of rebuilding life, finding strength in vulnerability, reclaiming your own identity while seeking support, adapting to new circumstances, and taking action while practicing patience. And thank you very much for joining me today, Steve. I know that in your life, you had to go through many changes in the last couple of years, and I was wondering if you could share your story with my listeners.
Well, I appreciate it. First, thanks for having me. And I wish I could say that this only happened once to me, but I've had several big changes in my life, like you're talking about. But the most recent one was in 2021. I was completely paralyzed. Well, almost completely. My face, arms, and legs, and it was going into my lungs, the lung muscles as well. Before it turned and started to improve. And it was Guillain-Barré syndrome that came into my life. And it was not a very scary time. I have 3 children and my wife and our family. And when you come to that severe of a medical issue, and I had never had any medical issues that large before, never been really sick or anything, never been hospitalized ever. This is the first time this ever happened in my life, and I hope the only time. But there were moments when I thought in my mind, is this the end? Am I going to die? Because I'm losing every day for a period for 7 days. It got worse and worse, and I was losing control of my body. So tears were shed, and it was scary. And luckily, the big thing is the 10 years prior, a little bit more than 10 years, I had been studying psychology, and I started meditating in 2008. So I had many years of mindset practice. And in that moment, when I thought maybe I'm going to die, I thought about my children. I thought about the things that I want to do, the people that I want to help, the things that I want to contribute on this earth. And I said, no. I actually remember the moment in my mind that I said, no, I'm not.
You made that decision.
I did. I decided that I'm not going to die.
We think there's always tomorrow, and we don't know. We really don't know. For you, thinking about your children, there's so much you want to teach them. There's so many moments you want to share with them. Thinking about your wife, and you feeling responsible for them. You worry about them, but you have to worry about yourself at that moment. So how do
Very much
you
so.
deal with all these thoughts that you want to help your family, you don't, and you can't? You have to be strong, but you're also feeling so weak. What do you do?
It's so very well said. Because it's the dual side, right? I want to recover and be and lead my family and lead others. At the same time, I needed to be willing to ask for help, which I can say I've not been the best in my life. In fact, some of the hardest times in my life were the times that I was too afraid, and I use that word on purpose, afraid, to not ask for help, because I think it actually, people think that when you ask for help, it's weakness, but I think it's courage, because it actually takes some courage. It takes being humble to say, I don't know how to deal with this. Can you help me? And so, very much so, I had to be willing to be helped. It was like being a baby again. I had to have people feed me. I could not feed myself. Even as embarrassing as this is to go to the bathroom and everything. It was, and even I remember when I first started to eat again, I couldn't burp. My wife had to pat my back like a baby.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you are a baby again." I couldn't burp, like all of the whole body was coming back. And so it is that
Such a blessing to have your wife next to you, to have such a wonderful partner who could support you through this difficult time.
it brought us closer together
Yeah.
for sure. And it
Asking
was,
for help is, I think, hard for many, many people. I find it difficult too, but I actually also found that people love to help. It makes them feel so good. And I think many of us do not realize it.
that's what I found too. I became an entrepreneur at a very young age. And I would say from 19 years old to 31 years old, I very, very rarely asked for help, because I thought that it was a sign of weakness, and that I would be squished, and that, people would look down on me. And then it wasn't until my 30s, when I was 31, that was another life-changing moment. I was in a very vulnerable spot, and could lose everything, and my health was out of order at that point. I had gained weight. I was having anxiety. It was just not mentally and physically not healthy. And I finally asked for help. And I realized what you're just saying. Many people want to help. And I had no idea. It was like, really? You want to help me? And then people were like, well, yeah, I know how to do that. Let me teach you. And then it was so much easier. It's like GPS. Like when we get in the car, we put the address and it tells us how to get there. And when you get a
Another
mentor,
point I wanted just to add right
yeah,
here, that when people help, they are also being helped in different ways. It benefits them too. It's also part of their journey, and they're learning something, and by helping, they're getting something out of it as well. It's like
I
being a mentor. You're learning so much from the person that you're teaching at the same time. So it's two-way street.
I agree, Christina. There's a saying that I heard. I don't know who said it, but they said, if you want to learn something, read about it. If you want to get good at it, do it. If you want to master it, teach it.
Yeah.
So in that level of giving to someone else and helping them, you're moving to a level of mastery, because you have to slow down enough to teach it. If that makes sense, because sometimes we get so good at something, we become like driving. When you first learn to drive a car, you have to look at everything, and you have to, if it's manual transmission, you're having to put the clutch in, and you're doing all these things to drive down the road. And then as you get older and you do it a lot, you don't even remember driving. You pull up and you're saying, I don't remember driving here. It is subconscious. So when we teach, we have to come out of subconsciousness and come into consciousness, so that we learn at a higher level. So I've studied this a bit, and I agree with you 100%. That giving and teaching others is a gift to ourselves.
Yes, and you have to let yourself to depend on somebody. You know, you're such a leader. You have a team of people working with you and for you, right? In your company, you have your family depending on you, your children, your wife, and now you have to switch those roles. That must be very difficult too.
It was a big deal, and at you know, I thought about it. You know, I ended up taking almost a 2-year sabbatical, 2 years without working, and I've always been doing, right? Always
Yeah.
doing and making things better. And although I do it smarter now, even before I was paralyzed,
Yeah.
it was a gift. It's crazy to say. So you might think, and your audience might think, wow, this guy is crazy. It's a gift to be paralyzed. Well, it woke me up because I couldn't work. So I had to give my company to my team, say, hey, here, take it. I didn't even say that. My wife did, because my face was paralyzed. So I couldn't even call them. She's like, Steve's in the hospital. You have to take care of the company. And they did. What a blessing. So my team took on the company, and my company still is going right now,
This
and
is so
even better than it
important.
used to.
I
Yeah.
think it's so important to make your company to be able to continue working without you being there. That tells me that it already was structured the way that it can continue work without your active input. Because many companies, you have one team member leaving and it all falls apart. So then I work for a company. I said, we need to have processes in place. If one person is on vacation or if one person leaves tomorrow, we can continue operate. There's no stop. There's no, how do we do this? Like, we have processes, we implement processes, then we document processes. If the new person comes in tomorrow, they can get up to speed fast. So you need to have things automated. You have to have processes in place that can, that can continue working if one person leaves, or especially in your situation, it's extreme. You have a leader that cannot at the moment lead. So this is very interesting how your team actually was able to continue.
And a blessing, and a blessing. You know, you're right. There were systems in place that allowed it to do that, and it was so fast because just the week before I was traveling and speaking. I went in the month of July in 2021. I went to 4 different states and 7 different speaking engagements. Came back on August 1st, and by August 4th, this started happening, and by August 13th, I was completely paralyzed. So within a matter of, what is that, 11 days, I could not move.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And with your speaking engagements, you're irreplaceable because there's only one Steve. No one can do what you do. There's no way. I attended one of your presentations and I thought it was brilliant. And I encourage everyone who can find time and attend your workshop or your presentation. It's definitely life-changing. So
Thank you for your
definitely.
kind words. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about adaptability because, when your life changes so fast, like you said, and so much in so many different ways, you have to adapt to this new life, new you, right? And anyone, like we said, we're talking about you, but I think that everyone who listens to this podcast episode can relate because everyone, at least once, like you said, in their lifetime, been in a situation where they felt like the world is falling apart and they have to adapt. You lost your job, you need to adapt. You got divorced, you need to adapt to a new environment, new life. And I don't remember who said that, but adaptability, the skill is very, very important. They say that not the smartest survives, not the strongest, but the one who can adapt.
Yeah.
So
Can you talk a little bit about that? What did you find most difficult about adapting to this new lifestyle that you had to embrace somehow? Because you have no choice.
Yeah.
This is what you have to deal with on your everyday basis and hope for change, right? But you have to adapt every day.
Yes. It is difficult to bring, but I will say I had dark moments, sad moments, painful moments, but I didn't have any dark, maybe even dark days, sad days, but I never had a dark week. And that happens because I was very well trained. So for about 10 years, I was able to study under Carl Buchheit in the realm of psychology. And you're absolutely right. Like when we're rigid, if you think of something with no flexibility, if the wind blows, it breaks. But if a tree is flexible, it will blow in the wind and it will survive. And so I think it's not about our rigidness, it's not about our strength. And I think that's where it becomes challenging for people. And it did for me at moments. You try to hold strong, and then there's a resistance to that, and then it actually causes more pain. And so what I actually did is the opposite. I have to accept. So the first part, when it's the human experience, is accepting. And so the way Carl Buchheit puts it, that I teach very often, I share this knowledge very often, and I love to share it here on your podcast. But when we do not get what we want, right? So I did not want to be paralyzed. That wasn't something that I chose or put on my vision board or, asked to come into my life. But when it came, I had to be willing to take it. What happens when we prolong our pain is we resist it. We say, I don't want this, push it away. And we're not having the flexibility to accept that this is coming in my life. But here's where Carl is very genius about it. If you take what you get, no matter what it is, if it's good, bad, or ugly, now I can say, okay, this came in my life. What would I like now? And so then we can actually ask for what we want next. And so if you think about the opposite real fast, just to compare, if I had this come and then I say, I don't want it, it's almost like a child throwing a tantrum, right? And we do this as adults. It might not look like we're throwing our arms up in the air, but we're like, no, thank you. But it's inevitable, right? These things come into our life. Like you said, like losing a job, becoming unwell, losing a loved one, they pass away, or having wars, or all these things that are not necessarily in our control. Then we have to accept and take that and then say, what would I like? And what it does is it brings choice. It brings the next step. It brings back life. So when a tree dies, it falls back into the dirt, and then new life comes. But if we hold the tree from going into the dirt because we say, I don't want this, then it can't come back and regenerate new. So in my life, because I accepted being paralyzed, I believe I healed faster. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. What did your doctors say? Did they say you can recover, or what did they say, 50-50 chance? Did they give you any predictions?
I think my doctors didn't like me. They did not like me because I was thinking differently. So I'll tell you this too. I met a man now that got what I had in 2003, and he still cannot walk. I met another man that had it 6 years before me, and he still struggled. I just met a woman in December. So what is that, like 5-6 months ago? And from the time we're recording this, and she 8 years, and she still has to wear gloves to type on a keyboard because her fingertips. So 8 years. For me, this is only 2.5 years right now. And my recovery is so strong, I think, for 2 reasons. One, mindset. And
I'm so
2,
happy to hear that. That's wonderful.
Thank you. It's mindset, and I did not the reason I say my doctors didn't like me is many of them, and I talked to different ones, and
Yeah.
I had many different doctors, and the thing at the beginning was that they wanted me to take a lot of drugs, a lot of
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals, right? And I said no. And it was silly things too. Like they said, "Oh, you need to take ulcer medicine and all these medicines." And I said, I do not have ulcers." And they said, "Oh, but you could get it." And then I said, "Well, I'm not going to take that." And so I started saying no to those things. And I did sign to leave the hospital early because they did not want me to go. But I set up my own hospital bed at my house. I got my own practitioners, and I went more with the holistic way to heal. And luckily, I was blessed enough to have the resources to do this. I know not everyone listening to this may have those opportunities, but our health matters. And what happened one of the days is I did take one of the drugs that they wanted, and then I slept the whole day. I didn't do my physical therapy. I didn't do anything. And I also lost my mind. I could not think, or and
So
there's a
many side
man.
effects, right?
Yes, and there was a man, well, last quick thing to the story. There's a man in 1981, in March of 1981. He's called the Miracle Man. He Morris Goodman, I believe his name. It was March of 1981. He crashed a plane and his body was shattered, hips shattered, legs mangled, completely destroyed his lungs. They were going to unplug him from the machines, and they were talking to his family, and he blinked his eyes. I'm going to, in Morse code, I'm going to walk out of this hospital. And one of the nurses saw the code and shared with the family. So they said, we're going to leave him plugged into the machines. And he said, I'm going to walk out of here before Christmas of the same year. So he crashed in March. And before Christmas of that year, 1981, I believe it was, or 1983, it was either 83 or 81. I can't remember. He did it. And I saw a little clip of him in The Secret, the movie, The
Yeah, I
Secret and
watched
the
the movie.
book,
Yeah.
and he's in there. And when I was in the hospital and I was paralyzed, and they did tell me, like they said, sometimes people don't recover from this. We have no medicine. There's no exact medicine to heal this. We think these things help, but it's not proven.
Yeah.
There was no real there was no like, oh, take this and you'll be all better. There was
Yeah.
none of that. And so there was only hope. And so when I had that, I said, well, if that man could regrow his lungs like a lizard regrows its tail, then I can get better. And so that's where I could not take the drugs because then I could not think. And if I
Yeah.
can't think, I can't meditate and be with my body.
So it was a conscious decision for you. You just made a decision. I'm going to recover.
Yes. Yes. And
That's
thank
amazing.
you,
And
Morris.
you had to do it step by step, right? I was looking at your website and I saw something. And let me see. Here's meet my turtle.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, she just ate strawberry. Her
That's
name
so
is
beautiful.
Tiara. So, and I read a little bit about turtles on your website. Here you go. What does it mean to you?
You know, that is so beautiful. You have a live turtle. Maybe that'll be my
Yeah.
next step. Mine is a piece of art, but it
Mhm.
is. I grew up in Silicon Valley, and in the San Francisco Bay Area or San Jose area, it is go, 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 go. It's very fast.
It
Technology
is.
changes so fast. And so all my life, it was go, 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 more business, go, 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 go. And so I had to consciously choose to slow down. And when I first heard the Chinese proverb, it says, slow is fast. It actually says that slow is fast. And when I first heard that, I thought, that is ridiculous. Like,
Mhm.
that does not sound smart. But now I see the wisdom because when you're running 100 miles an hour or,
Yeah.
as fast as you can, you're going to break some things. You're going to miss some turns. You're going to miss some things that bring wisdom. So for me, the turtle represents slowing down so that we can see more. It actually brings wisdom. And I mean, we should know the tortoise and the hare, that so many wise people have told
Yeah.
that story, slow and steady. Um,
And with
and one
your
of my cousins,
recovery, yeah, and with your recovery, you have to take this step by step, day by day, right?
it is. It's 100%. So I had my really good friend who is a Feldon Christ practitioner, Yayoi Lewis. I would not have walked as soon within. So it's August, September, October. So by November, so 4 months, I was able to walk first with a cane, and then but here's the saying she had when I first started to move. She said, Steve, if you want to be a good walker, you must be a great stander. You have to just learn to stand up, and we forget. So I had to first learn to sit up in the bed. Then I had to sit on the edge of the bed. Then I had to stand up. Then you can walk. And the first time I tried to walk, I was so excited that I could take a step. I took 3 steps away from the bed and then 3 steps back really fast and fell on the bed. And then it took 2.5 days to recover. I could not get out of the bed for 2.5 days because those 6 steps was too much. That day I should have not done that. And so I had to remember, and that's why I have these turtles in my life.
Yeah.
I need to remember to slow down.
Yes. Yes, yes. A
What,
little
what is your name?
reminder, Tara.
Tara?
Tara.
Wow.
It's a reminder for everyone to slow down.
And does she just sit on your desk?
No, we have a big tank in another room, but I brought the little tank here because I wanted you to meet Tara.
Thank you so much. What a treat. That's so beautiful. And then that they'll live they have a long life, right?
Longer than humans, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slow
Yeah.
but fast. You're right. Like you said, let me see. I have my notes here. Turtles go with the flow. Yeah, and many of us do things the hard way. That's what you said, right?
Yeah. And
So
like,
even
when you look at turtles, when they get into water, they're very fast creatures. So they use nature to propel them. So they work less. So when they're on land, they walk, maybe you would perceive it as slow, but they're saving energy, and they're carrying their home too. So they're very prepared. And then when they get in the water, they can go very fast.
yeah, and we often choose this road of resistance. Yes, the hard way. I don't know why, but that is like I read that and I thought you're so right. You know, you can learn so much from nature, from animals.
Yeah. I think that's what's so wise about our indigenous ancestors. And if you go back far enough, we all were indigenous at some point, right? And they many that you can still observe, or that were more recent in history, that were still at their nature roots. I think that's what sometimes is sad about modernization, is our modern cities tend to pull us away from nature. And then that's what makes disharmony and even disease, right? Because we're out of sync with nature.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a good point to bring up. One thing is just to come back to the symbiosis with nature, so that we can notice how to live in a good way, so that we're not, not being attached to the good parts of healing and nature, and seeing how nature works, because you're right, we can learn a lot from animals, and we are animals. We just have an intellect at a higher level, much higher than any other species on this planet. So I think we become delusional that we should not
Not
act
always
like
helpful to
animals.
us. Yeah, not
Yeah.
always helpful to us. Just get back to nature. And that's what scares me with all the technology and how much time people spend on their phones in front of their computers, that we're not being as active as we used to be. And we don't spend that much time outside, even getting fresh air and light, and just standing on the ground. I think it's helpful. You get this energy from earth.
Yes. Yes. And yet we can embrace technology because we can even make this podcast possible, and you and I can be in
Exactly.
completely different cities and we can have this conversation. So there are blessings, but it's like anything.
Balance,
You could
yes.
have the best food. You could have the best food in the world, but if you eat it all day, you'll get sick. Right? If it's the
Yeah.
same if we have beautiful technology that allows this to be possible, but if we do it all day long every day, then we'll get sick. So it's using it in the moderation.
Yes. Do not integrate it into our lives too much, right? Use it as a tool, helpful tool.
Yeah.
Don't overuse, especially for children. I know you have 3 children.
Yes.
I'm sure they use technology, but you have to teach them what's the best way to use it, right? And so it can benefit them. But at the same time, you don't want them to be addicted to technology.
Yes, and I've taught my children that many psychologists have been hired to make this thing addictive, right? So that is not I make them aware. Like sometimes when my children have been sad because they want to continue to use the phone, that I've had to teach them that the people were smart that designed this, and they made it so you do not want to stop. They made it addictive. And so it's having that conversation, but also I believe in what Peter Gray says. He wrote Free to Learn. It's a great book about the youth and learning. And he said that, yes, we need to teach moderation, but not elimination. There are some
Exactly.
parents that will not let their kids have technology. And then think of when they turn 18, they can't even get a job because they can't use the computer well, or they can't use the phone. So you need to teach them this is a tool. And so I think right now, a lot of people are doom and gloom. They think that AI is going to take everything away. I think it is going to bring change. I think what's going to happen is we're going to be shocked by the change. And people need, like, even a podcast like this, we're talking about change. We need to be okay with change. But I think we are possibly on the way to the second Renaissance. So if you think about the Renaissance, how did all that art come? How did Shakespeare and all these things come about? The music that came out of that period of time, because you no longer had to wake up and survive. So at that period of time before that period, you had to wake up and survive. You had to go find food and you had to maintain shelter and all these things. As we use more and more technology, and what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have less and less doing things that we had to do before. We will be done by computers. And so we will have a chance to create. So education itself needs to change. Right now, we're still in an old way to learn where you go to school to memorize and take tests. We no longer need to memorize. You just Google. So we're teaching the wrong thing. We need to teach kids right now how to create. They're gonna have more
Give
time
them
and more
skills,
tools,
yes.
the tools to create. Like, so think of it as technology as a new hammer. It's just going to make it easier to build new homes.
Yeah, it's definitely important to embrace change. And I love change. Of course, sometimes we just discussed change that brought a lot of negativity and difficulties, right? Some change can bring positive things to our lives. And with AI, I think that it's definitely going to change our lives a lot, but at the same time, we have to be in control of it. We can't just look at the results. We have to build it, the way we were building the internet, we didn't think about security, we didn't think about privacy, right? We kind of later on we're trying to regulate things. With AI, we have to make sure we do it the right way because the risk is high.
And I think that's why we need to, if anything we spend our time with is to learn to be in better mental health, to spend time with people that need help with their mental health, and to love one another. I think right now in this next period of time, we need more love and more harmony, more compassion. Uh, that's going to make all that easier, because I think the fear and not knowing our neighbor. I think in modern society, a big challenge is that we're working so hard to pay the bills that you don't know your neighbor. You don't know what's going on your street
With
or in your
technology,
neighborhood.
yes, people get connected, but in real life, everyone gets disconnected. So it's definitely so important for us to connect in real life. And I hope soon I'll have my podcast in person and we can record it in the studio,
Yes.
not online, because it's a big difference. Even though this is wonderful, but having those dialogues, conversations in real life, it brings some special energy in the room.
Yes.
Same thing right now with people working remotely. Even though we're all connected, we see each other, we communicate all day long. But when you get that team together, you know, in real life, in the same room, magic happens. People become so much more creative. They become so energized.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to
I'm with
find
you.
that balance. Yes, use technology, and you can connect with anyone in the world. I work for 2 international companies, and you can work with somebody who's in India, somebody who's in Switzerland. You can work with those people. It wouldn't be possible without technology.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even at my house where
Fine.
we record this, and I have this bookshelf, and then on the other side, my camera is wired here down, but I have a sitting room to sit and, you know, to meditate or to meet with people. And then I live against the forest,
That's wonderful.
so that I can go out and observe the trees or walk with the trees. So I always have tried to live near or amongst something significant in nature, because I do like to do this work. I like to be on this podcast with you. I like to share my life in hopes to help others. And I also need to live my life, right? Because if I give my whole life to these endeavors, I will probably start to lose my wisdom, I believe, and maybe other people will disagree. But I in my life, when I was going really fast and I was not the way of the turtle, I would get exhausted and I would make poor decisions. I would not be as useful. And when I recover, when I take care of myself and give myself time to think, then I actually can bring more wisdom and more light and more creativity to all of my engagements. And that is something I think we overlook when we look at productivity as busyness, and it's not the same. Productivity is producing results. Busyness is about doing things.
My previous company I was working for, they changed from 5 working days to 4 working days, and the productivity went up. So it's the companies are doing it now. It's proven. So I agree with you 100%. Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting to see more people adopt this. Working for an hourly wage doesn't make sense, because it's saying that your life is only worth time, but not all time is equal. Someone who comes for 1 hour, like as one example, real fast, I know one of my clients is a very high level expert in construction, and this $1 million construction was happening, and someone made a big error, a real big error. And they brought a consultant for like a week, and they found a solution to fix it, but it was like almost $300,000 to fix some mistake. And then my client, who had a lot more experience showed up and in 30 minutes told them how to fix it for $20,000. So now think about that. It's less time, but more value. So, and then do you pay that person by the hour and then they make $200 and the other consultant worked for a week and they got $5,000? So
Yeah,
if you go
doesn't
by
make
time,
sense. Yeah.
it's not right. It's just not right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And with your workshops, I think this is exactly what you're teaching people, right? How to work the way you work. You work less, but you actually have better results, right?
Yes. Typically, we work with leaders like
Yeah,
CEO,
CEOs.
founders, and entrepreneurs that have found success, but yet they don't have the life they want. And this is because many of us think that if I build a business or millions of dollars, I'll automatically have the life. And I thought this too. But the reality is, we need to design our life first and then build our abundance around it. So the clients I work with make millions more in revenue while lowering work hours under 40 hours. And that might seem too good to be true. I tell people it's not a silver bullet, it's not the magic pill, it's not a 6-minute ab workout. We work, but we just work smarter. And so this is the idea: is how do we design it? It's all by design. And when I did not design it, you let life happen and it becomes hard. And so when you design it really well, it's easy.
We plan our vacation, we plan our day, we plan our week, but we never plan our lives. What brings you joy? What do you want? I think this is the main question.
And I think people think money will answer all of that, and it doesn't. Money is a tool, it's not the end game. So I had two women that were business partners, and they built a $40 million company, and they both were making $1 million each at the end. So they were making $1 million each in this 40, it was like 42 million somewhere. And they came to me because it wasn't good, like their life. And I said, what would you like? And one of the women said, 2 million, 2 million each. And I said, oh, what will having that do for you? And she looked down and I just got quiet. I waited and she looked back up and she said, Steve, you're right. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm right about what? I didn't disagree. What do you mean I'm right? She said, I thought $1 million would give me the life I wanted. And now I came here in your office and I thought $2 million would give it, because 1 million did not. But now when you ask this question, what will having that do for me? I thought it would be to give me freedom, but it's not. So really what I want is freedom. And so this is to your question. What do I really want? Well, if you want freedom, if you don't want to be locked up in your business or be on a treadmill at 10 and you can't get off, you're running as fast as you can. That is also by design. I put it one more metaphor. I tell a lot of people that's like wanting to have your dream house, a custom home. And you just give the money and you tell it, make my dream home, without telling any description. And then when you show up at your dream home for the first time and it's not the house that you want, it's not the color you want, it's not the design you want, the kitchen's not in the right place, they don't have the bathroom the way you want, you gave no information. That is the same as saying, I'm going to make money and then one day I'm going to live. That is not the case. People ask me, they say, Steve, are you a business coach or a life coach? And I say, well, I sure hope you don't die when you go to work. It's all life.
Both, yes, exactly.
So we need to design our life and then build our abundance around that and find that, like you said, what is the joy? I believe we all have that inside. And I even want to say one more thing, that I think we have feelings because it's life telling us, I don't like that, I like that. It's giving us guidance. It's like an internal direction system saying, don't go that way, go this way. And we need to listen to that
We're
part.
not listening to our intuition. Yeah. I wanted to go back to your journey in the last 2 years and talk about patience. a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like we're, as a society, we're not patient anymore, right? How do you learn being patient? Feels like you said, we're moving fast, always moving fast. We're making decisions fast because we want results fast. And something happens and you react. So you have to be patient. And especially with experience like yours, you probably learned being patient, maybe being patient, and maybe you can share how, because I think most of us forgot how to be patient.
Yeah, it is, you're absolutely right. And I have been the worst at being patient at sometimes. I the opposite of patient, like everything has to be now. And I think I had to go through hard times, Christina, because I would hurt myself because I would want something now. I would, if it's like, let's say, oh, that's closed. The road is closed. The young Steve would drive on the broken road, go into the ditches and all around and keep going instead of waiting. But if I wait, then I could get there faster. Here's an example. I was in Toronto and I had done a speaking engagement there. And then I was with my whole family because a lot of times I would travel with my kids so they could see different parts of the world. And then I had to go to Colorado in the United States again. And we're going through, and it was really slow at customs. I think we gave ourselves like 2 hours and 45 minutes at the airport. It was not enough. We went all the way through customs. Maybe a lot of people don't know this. In Canada, the United States Customs is in Canada. So you actually go through customs before you get on your plane in Canada. It's a little different experience. So
I've
we
never been to
get to the
Canada.
gate and they closed it. They closed the gate. The plane was taken off and they put all our bags back all the way out of customs. So we had to go all the way back out and we're going to have to go through customs again. And I'm sitting there with the airline and I'm making new flight arrangements and I need to be in Colorado the next day.
Yeah.
And the woman says, well, there's a flight tomorrow that can get you there right in the morning. And we can get you all on there, no problem. And that probably would have been the easiest, smoothest thing to do. But I looked at my family and in my mind, I felt like, okay, that sounds good. We can go to dinner one more time in Toronto because we liked it there. And we can spend the night in Toronto and then fly in the morning. And then I look at all my family there, all the bags, and I said, oh, we're here. Let's just get a flight. And so I push and I spend like 45 minutes with the agent trying to find the flights, going through Chicago, getting to, because by the way, it was Toronto to Denver, one flight. Then I went to Chicago and then to Denver. And then because I forced it, I did not have patience. I wanted now. No, I want to be on the plane right now. Then I got stuck in Chicago. We ended up having to sleep for 1 hour in a hotel, come back because the plane it wasn't available. And then I got late to Denver. I even missed my meeting. And I looked up online and the morning flight made it there.
Was right on time.
Right on time. And so it's those things that I
Why do we do this? This is your story, but it seems like everyone has a story like this. Like, why do we do this? We just
it's I think the reason I shared that story is that it takes noticing that was hard. Like, do I want that again? And so I told myself after that I'm going to listen inside, because inside I knew at that thing, I said, go have dinner. Go have dinner in Toronto, fly tomorrow. But something in my mind was the busy Steve was like, no, let's go now. And it costs our family all of our sleep.
Yeah.
I missed my meeting. We had to rearrange it and I was tired. And even when I showed up that day in Denver, it wasn't the full Steve. I was exhausted.
Yeah. Listen to your instincts, right?
I hope anyone hearing this listens to themselves. And is sometimes when the path, so here's the warning signs. I often say life will tap you and then it'll slap you. So the idea is to slow down, to see and hear the taps, because I do believe life is directing us in good way. And if we pay attention to the signs and we listen to our heart, you can avoid a lot of pain. And I think it goes back to the busyness. If we're always busy, you're most likely going to fall down a lot more.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very, very good advice. Be more like, stop driving subconsciously, right? Start paying attention to the road. This is the same idea. And I just wanted to ask you one more question, going back again to your journey, your family. You know, when something tragic or difficult happens, something with somebody's health, in this situation with your health, attention is on you, but it's also so difficult for people around you, right? How do they get help? How do they get this energy to keep going and support the loved ones?
That I don't know if I can answer that as well, but I can put myself in the position when I've helped my loved ones. You know, it is like a release. Luckily, there's 5 of us in our family unit, and my kids are not that young now. So in 2021, then my oldest would be 16, and my youngest was 11. So they were big enough to help. And like my team for my company, my team stepped up to another level to run the company. My family stepped up to another level to run the house. My son took things on that dad did, like lifting heavy things, or we get spring water in glass bottles and it's very heavy, and he brought those in, and the things that maybe we never even tried because maybe I was too worried that one would break, or something like that. So even how I was overprotective, this gave freedom for them to be older, to embrace things. My son cooked more while my wife was attending to me. He took care of his sisters.
It's
There's
amazing.
so many gifts that would not have been able to be there. They all had to be to grow. So everyone grew in that. And I think how did they get help? I think it was the unit itself. I don't know what it would be like if it was just my wife and I think my wife would have been overly exhausted,
It's emotionally and physically when you want to help the loved ones, and there's so much you can do.
And one other thing, our friends. Immediately, my wife called her best friends, and she had a whole mom research group. Like they were all researching what I had.
Moms are heroes.
They all jumped in. It gives me tingles, and blessings to all you women out there that were there, and the men too. But this is a very big point in all my life. And if we all think, and if we're really honest with ourselves, and me being really honest right now, until this moment where I was paralyzed, I actually would have days where I would say, am I loved? Am I good enough? Am I worth anything to anyone else? Do people really, really love me? Do they really love me? And having this experience and seeing all the people that came to help my family and my family itself, I can sit here and know in my heart, I know in my heart right now that I am loved.
That's amazing. That's what gives you so much energy to share that love of the world, to share this love of so many people that you're helping all the time with your business and with your friendship. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. And
it's my pleasure. I was just going to say you're a blessing, and thank you for doing this podcast, because it's so important to be able to share these types of stories so other people can maybe have growth without so much pain. Maybe take my story and without having to be paralyzed, maybe you can take some new decisions today and what you can do to be with your family, maybe taking an extra day off work, maybe showing up a little bit earlier and hug your kids and be with your loved ones. Because tomorrow isn't promised, so you don't know if you're going to have tomorrow. So,
Yeah,
live.
ask yourself what brings you joy in life. Call people that you didn't call for a long time. Ask them how they're doing. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Maybe last question. I wanted to ask you about your beard. Is it symbolic for you? It looks like a sign of wisdom. You're a very wise man. But tell me about it.
Well, I think it has become that. It has been kind of a trophy for my journey and something I had never, ever grown before. I would usually either shave my face or have a very trimmed beard. The start of it was because I could not shave. I tried shaving 2 times when I got out of the hospital, and I cut my face and my hands were shaky because I still was trying to come back. So I said, okay, no more shaving. I'm going to let the beard come. And so the beard came. And then because I didn't shave for the longest ever in my life, the beard got very long. And that was like when it was here. So like just under my chin, that was like the biggest beard I ever had. And then I just kept letting it grow. And so I've been, in a way,
your style. It's actually very stylish. I think it's good. So are you planning to keep it, or?
I am attached. Right now. I don't see in the near future shaving it yet. Nothing is forever, right? So I don't know.
It feels right?
Yes. It will stay with me for now.
Sounds good.
Steve has a free More Business, More Life newsletter, and you can text message WOW to 72000 or go to stevenapolitan.com.